Wow. I don't even know how to begin this. Let's talk about. Maybe I do. Hello, YouTubers. This is D1091 again. And this is my first movie review. Now, usually if you've seen my channel, you know I pretty much do lists and all that. But I want to get my share of movie reviews. And seeing as this one's my first review, I don't really know what to say. Except, well, have you ever wanted to see a movie that starred Randy Quaid, Mr. T, Bobcat Goldthwait, Keanu Reeves, Brooke Shields, and wow, this one's gonna be bad. If not, walk away, because this is Freaked. Originally titled Hideous Mutant Freaks, this film was made in 1993, around the time I was only 2 years old. Based on that genealogy. But anyway, Freaked is one of the weirdest movies I've seen. And oddly enough, I've requested this movie to be reviewed by the Hardcore Kid. Because I thought, well, he reviewed Drop Dead Fred with Rick Mail. This movie's just as weird, if not weirder. Directed by Tom Stern and Alex Winter, who also stars in the movie. It's one of those movies where it's so strange, it's entertaining. Kind of like how A Million Ways to Die in the West would be considered so stupid, it's funny. Basically, the movie starts, it's with it being a talk show, hosted by Brooke Shields, who's interviewing a former child star named Ricky Coogan, Alex Winter, and right off the bat, she asks him how one of America's sweethearts can make children scream in terror just by saying his name. Well, as the movie shows us, Coogan kind of got screwed over. It began because he accepted the job from this mega corporation called the Everything Except Shoes Corporation, or EES, to promote a controversial and lethal toxic fertilizer known as Zygrod 24. Now, I want to stop right there for a second. And this is to anyone in big business. If the people who you're negotiating with have their hands on something that's highly dangerous and could result in mutations and possibly genocide on a molecular level, well, it's best to deny it, no matter what the price. And basically, they talk him into it by offering him $5 million. Whereas even after he sees one of the guys who's bent and, and exposed to Zygarde 24 and sees him shrink, into this funny little guy. And it's basically with this friend, they fly to South America. However, during their flight, Ricky has one little fan, and boy, he was constantly following him. And believe it or not, this is probably where we got the term troll from, possibly. Because all throughout the movie, they call this kid a troll. And why not, too? He's kind of ugly. And, yeah, sure enough, you get sucked out of the airplane. And he plumets to the ground. Oh, don't worry, he's still alive. Anyway, once the duo make it to Santa Fe, South America, they see a group of protesters who are trying to boycott Zygarde 24. And Ricky kind of becomes smitten with one of them named Julie. He's portrayed by Megan Ward. Sorry, I can't speak today. Basically, Ernie and Ricky kind of Shanghai Julie into thinking they're environmentalists as well, until they kind of blow their cover. They decided to take this detour, and from what I've seen in horror movies, and trust me, this one doesn't count as a horror movie in the slightest. It's more black comedy. As they are driving down the street, or highway I guess, they come across these billboards that say stuff like, "Come see the human worm. Come gaze in amazement at the amazing dog boy. See the hideous frog man." And sure enough, Julia wants to go see this place called Freakaland, which is one of those sideshow places where they expose isn't really the right word. Exploit any people who might be considered freaks. When they arrive, they're immediately greeted by the owner, Elijah C. Skuggs, portrayed by Randy Quaid. Those of us who know him better as Alameda Slim from Home on the Range, and his henchman Toad, which is basically a guy who's not that deformed in a way, except he has warts, and it's an extremely long tongue, and is kind of a greedy glutton in a way. And somehow Nux gets them to follow him into his special back room where he supposedly keeps the best freaks away from the public. But as it turns out, it's like a Frankenstein lab. Where is what he calls his tasty freaks machine that's powered by Zygarde 24. And basically disfigures regular people, or as we'll know in a moment, even inanimate objects, into hideous mutant freaks. Makes it become part of his show. He demonstrates this on camera by conjoining in Julie and Ernie, and so that they're like, Siamese twins, or in other words, one body, two heads. And just the transformation is kind of interesting, because they go with claymation references, like Gumby and Pokey beating off and flipping off Skugs, the Cyclops from all the Sinbad movies from Ray Harryhausen's work. Now it's Mickey's turn, and he is basically half mutated. Again, if you've seen the movie, you pretty much know what I mean. Elijah brings up to what may look like an outhouse is actually a well-constructed fed boarding house, I guess I would call it. Yeah, it's kind of one of those illusions where it's bigger on the inside than it looks like on the outside. The best way I can probably describe that is kind of like a gateway in the Harry Potter films at the train station. Does that make any sense? I don't know. But this is where Ricky meets the other freaks. We have Ortiz the dog boy, played by Keanu Reeves. Interesting. And he would be in another one of these kind of movies. He's the human worm, which is literally a giant worm with a human face. He's Nosy, whose entire head is mostly composed of one huge nose. Kind of disgusting and kind of disturbing in a way. We have the cowboy, who's literally part man, part cow. And not to mention, we have when they even show us when a reference of one of the original freaks. It's the bearded lady. And you will not believe who plays this character. And if you say Mr. T, good for you. Oh, man. Like I said, this review is going to be hilarious. I mean, this movie is going to be hilarious to some of you who actually see this. Yes, there's also Sockhead, Bobcat Goldthwait, which is basically just him with a sock for a head. And the internal flame how that's exactly a freak, I don't really know. Oh, because he just is continuously farting, getting fire. There we have Rosie the Pinhead, which I guess means she's immune to pain. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably it. We have the hideous Frogman, who, I know what, we're probably thinking when you say that word. Yeah, it's kind of an ethnic slur towards French people. Oh, because it's literally a French guy in a scuba suit. I still don't get it. And the skeleton of Paul Lynde. Next. Every meets the freaks and doesn't want to have anything to do with them. He warms up to them after hearing their stories. You want to know what the weird part about it is? Scuggs didn't kidnap them. He didn't drug them. He didn't abduct them from anywhere. They came to him. Even Mr. T, his character, willingly went to Scuggs. And all he said to him was, you'll probably look a lot better without a dick, but at least you'll keep the beard. Oh, and I'm forgetting something, aren't I? There is one other freak. A hammer. That originally was a wrench. Really? Well, anyway, as it turns out, as Ricky's trying to figure out a way to escape, Stewie, for some odd reason, knows that he's in trouble and is trying to help him out. Oh, he succeeds, but is captured by some shady people. Oh, now we come to the big night. And where the freaks perform in front of a lot of people. And when Ricky comes up, he shows his acting side, and by reciting the opening soliloquy of William Shakespeare's Richard III. And this is kind of where we feel sorry for him, finally. Yeah, I know, the first half of the movie we're sick of him because he's arrogant and selfish. What else is new? Oh, because as it turns out, there's an EES executive, but after merely just telling it, because Ricky's ugly, that he's fired, which causes the entire audience to laugh at him. Enraged, he rips up the guy's head, and while everyone else runs off. The next day, Ricky tries to escape, but is caught by a pair of Rastafarian eyes. Okay. Who take him to Elijah, and he tells Ricky that during the next show he plans to mutate him, and so he become a full-fledged freak. He will slaughter the others. Meanwhile, on his way back towards the freak house, I guess, he comes across the other freaks who apparently came up with the same idea he did, which is basically knock out a milkman and take his costume. Ricky tries to warn them about the eyeballs, but no one's taking him seriously. He kind of gets into a knife fight with Ortiz, but is saved when a squirrel comes by and Dog Boy goes after it. Never to be seen again, and with the trigger-happy eyes chasing him. Realizing that Rick was right, they may pick him leader. And they're trying to come up with a good plan. And basically their plan is to turn him into a good super freak by alternating the supply of Zygarde 24. Ricky, Arnie, and Julie, as well as the worm, tunnel into Skug's lab and successfully concoct the antidote potion. Meanwhile, back at the headquarters, Sockhead is becoming paranoid, and when he tries to make a run for it, he's gunned down by the eyeballs. Upon escaping from the lab, Rick loses their concoction, but somehow manages to find in the bag of mackerel. Okay, how on earth did he find that? When they just said that the tunnel is going to collect. Forget it. The review is almost over. So Rick finds out the next morning that Elijah has been sending the Zygarde 24 from EES. As believe it or not, it prisons Stewie. As they discuss their plan, Stewie escapes somehow unnoticed with the antidote. That night during the show, he tries to deliver the chemical to Ricky, but a biker pours it on him, turning him into a 7-foot version of himself. Skuggs six of the eyeballs on him. And Stewie gets rid of them. I'm like, you know what, just throwing sand at them. He sticks Toad on him. Ernie throws a lit firecracker at him. Which, if you all know what happens when you combine fireworks, frogs, and toads, they explode. And meanwhile, while this is going on, Skuggs is finally infecting Ricky with his own Zygarde formula, completing the transformation. Which looks like one of those retro uh, oh, Motor Monster, her pictures, because his eyeballs are literally bulging out of his head, and he basically looks like what would happen if a gremlin decided to do steroids. And so basically, the Ricky Monster and Stewie Monster fight. And while this is going on, and Scott finds out that the EES were going to double cross him. And he turns on them, as it turns out, using the Zygarde at 24 on them, basically merging them all together into a giant, disturbingly fleshy looking shoe thing. Again, this looks kind of retro. Oh, but right before Ricky, he is about to stab Stewie in the head with a spear that he broke off half the other freak's cage. And Shield's character positive as the movie, because apparently he's been talking about this for about an hour and a half, and we cut to a commercial within the movie. He returned, and it's just when he's about to kill Stewie. When a wave of compassion comes over him, and he hugs Stewie. This apparently pisses off Scuggs, as he tries to fight Ricky, and which apparently is not doing anything. And basically all Ricky does is literally he ball up his fist, slam it down on his head, and you can literally hear the spinal vertebrae break. Which is basically paralyzing him for life now. Oh, he pleads for his life by telling Ricky that he made an antidote and he baked it into a batch of macaroons. How convenient. And yet that still does not make any sense. It's Ricky basically said as nice try. And basically kicks him into the vat of Zygarde 24. All of a sudden, the FBI is show up finally. Apparently, they've been following the Inquirer stories. And he's like Bat Boy, the house that bled, and that kind of stuff. And this is where things get a little weird, because Elijah comes back, except this time he transforms into Brooke Shields. Well, it's an instant the FBI are gunning him down. We get back to the show. And as it turns out, the audience has been asleep most of the movie. finally bored to tears. And it's revealed that Ricky and most of the other freaks things are finally back to normal. Well, except for the worm because he doesn't like macaroons. Which, too bad because I do. They rejoice as Orky comes back. Okay. As well as Stewie, who is still a freak. You know, monster freak, not troll. And it's revealed that Sky Daily, once again this is Brooke Shields, is Elijah C. Scuggs. He lunges after Ricky and the others with a machete, only to be gunned down by Julie. And as she embraces Ricky, Sky, and he comes back, gunned down again, this time by Ernie. And they wave goodbye to the studio audience, but before the credits roll, Sky lunges at them one more time. You want to know what I think about this movie? It sucks. It's bad enough that this movie he managed to slip past me over the years. It was never shown in Sci-Fi or Comedy Central. Well, quite frankly, I'm surprised that they didn't put this. And it's probably because of how bad it is. Now, believe it or not, this movie actually has a soundtrack to it. And the title song, Freaked, is actually performed by comedian and slash rock musician Henry Rollins. Now, there is one little thing, and it kind of puzzles me. And not just the macaroon thing. And in 1995, if Freaked won 2 awards. The grand prize at the 1995 Gerard Hardemar Film Festival, sorry if I can't pronounce this right, and Best Actor for the creatures of the film. At the 1994 Fanta Festival. The film was also nominated for a Saturn Award for Best Makeup. And you know, it is kind of sad, though, because this movie also, on Rotten Tomatoes, owns only 15 reviews, and it holds a 47% rating. I don't know what else to say about this, folks. Other than... And check out my other video. I will be doing more sometime in the future. I've got a good one coming up soon, and I'm trying to work on. And in the future, you'll see that my videos are going to get better. Or because, well, I've been taking digital media classes this semester. So I can actually better my videos. Oh, and what else is there to say other than and comment, subscribe, hit thumbs up, uh, at +1 or something like that. I don't know exactly how this works. Oops. I apologize if I don't have the footage of the film exactly, but due to YouTube's copyright and fair use policies, I'd rather not get in trouble. Oh, by actually showing in the movie. But I'll let you guys see it. It's on YouTube. Even though, oh, there's like Spanish subtitles. Oh, this is Demon0981, and see you later. And hopefully next video I'll do something better.